What, she's your sister? I had no clue. You know, look, pal, I don't want to fight or anything like that. She came on to me, man. Today on the Geekasaurus, part 2 of the Elementalist. We are back for part 2 of our coverage of the Elementalist. Today we're going to go into the specifics of the class. Scratch that. We're going into the specifics of the profession. ArenaNet likes to call these professions. I like to use class, one less syllable. So, here are the weapons that the Elementalist uses. A scepter, like a stick. A dagger in the main hand, staff two-handed, dagger in the offhand, and a focus in the offhand. The scepter is going to specialize in close-range combat, whereas the staves, staff, whatever, they're going to specialize in long-range combat. Dagger in the main hand is going to be for fast and focus on medium-range spells, and dagger in the offhand specializes in powerful medium-range abilities. So, there is your breakdown. Scepter close, dagger medium, staff long range. Focus will be for the close range. Focus and scepter go hand in hand, so to speak. You start out the game with just a scepter, and usually within the first 15-20 minutes you'll find your offhand, which will probably be the focus. But you know, other things could drop off a mob. You could have a... Okay, just to rehash from yesterday, you have 4 schools of magic, and each weapon that you pick will be able to cast up to 5 spells in each of those schools of magic. I'm not talking about the traits or any of the other stuff yet. We're just talking about the main focus of the character. You can switch between the different schools of magic during combat. It's just not able to be switched back instantly, meaning that you can't F1 fireball, F2 ice block, F1 again fireball. There's a cooldown between switching, so you kind of have to be committed. Once you've said, okay, I'm gonna go and try to do ice magic now, then you can do that. If you want to go back to fire, it might take a few. One of the first spells you're going to start off with is Flame Strike. It's an auto-castable, auto-fire spell, basically. Once you start the combat, it will keep casting over and over and over again. It doesn't do a huge amount of damage, and as we were talking about before, it is a close-range spell. So you have to kind of watch what you're doing. Let's stay with the scepter and talk about its abilities that you have. You're going to get an ability called Dragon's Tooth, which drops an explosive Dragon's Tooth on your foe. Kind of does a little bit of AoE. It is a pretty good hit. As you see, I'm throwing it down here. The biggest problem with it is it has a bit of a cast time, so you have to make sure you're all set. Like, if the guy's going to stay in the same spot, if he's fighting somebody else, great time to drop Dragon's Tooth. If a mob's running towards you, don't bother with it. Phoenix. This is a pretty neat one. It releases a fiery phoenix that first attacks your foe in a line, returns back to you, removing conditions and granting you vigor. Vigor is basically your health regeneration, so you get kind of a buff at the same time that you're throwing it out. But it's really slow to cast, so another one where you have to make sure the person's going to be even in a line with you. They don't necessarily have to be staying still because it flies towards your opponent. That covers the scepter for fire. Now water, it has ice shards. It fires 3 ice shards at your foe. You also have Shatterstone. It creates a Shatterstone at the target area that explodes after 2 seconds. Kind of like a ice bomb. And you also get Water Trident, which casts a Water Trident that damages your foes and heals your allies. The heal is really minimal. Don't think this is any kind of major healing spell. It's not. It just kind of gives you 1 or 2 hit points back. It's really low, at least at the lower levels. Maybe it goes up. Who knows? Scepter, air. Air, you get Arc Lightning, which casts an arc of electricity at your foe. The ones I'm mentioning first, like Flame Strike, Ice Shards, Arc Lightning, they're going to be your auto cast, so they stay on all the time. So then you have Arc Lightning, you have Lightning Strike, which strikes your foe with lightning. Kind of self-explanatory, big lightning blast comes out of the air. And finally, Blinding Flash, which blinds your foe with a flash of light. Lightning Strike is a one-time blast out of the air. Arc Lightning is the channeled one. You kind of hold it and it just zaps through the air. Finally, for Scepter, we have Earth. Earth, you have Stone Shards. This is your autocast. And fling stone daggers at your foe, and it causes them to have a bleed effect. Rock Barrier. Envelope yourself in a stony barrier that improves armor. And from that, you can do something called Hurl, which summons a rock and hurls it at your foe. Once you have the barrier up, I think it uses one of the rocks and throws it at your foe. Finally, there is the Dust Devil. It blinds your foes with a blast of sand. When you cast Blind on somebody in this game, it's pretty cool because it causes them to miss you more. It doesn't mean that they're going to walk around they can't see, but instead of them being able to hit you every swing, they hit you every third swing or something like that. Let's move on to Focus, which is going to be like a bell on a stick or some kind of totem doll, something that you'll hold in your offhand. They too have 2 spells for your different schools of magic. Okay, so Fire. You're going to get Flame Wall, which you've seen me cast in this video quite a bit. It's a really nice spell. It creates a wall of flame at the target area that burns foes. So if they're going to run through it, they're going to catch on fire. If you see them standing in a line, you catch them on fire. It's static, so wherever you cast on the ground, it stays. Fire Shield. Envelope yourself in a shield of fire that burns foes. So every time you're getting hit with a melee attack, they hit you, it damages them, it sets them on fire. That's the only 2 you get. You only get 2 because this is only for your offhand. You cannot put a focus in the main hand. Water. You get a Freezing Gust. It chills your foe for a brief time, slows them down. Comet drops a comet of ice on the target area and dazes your foes. Air. Swirling Aura. Creates a swirling wind that destroys enemy projectiles. Gale. Knocks down your foe with a charged wind blast, which is a nice. Any knockdown is great in PvP. If you can knock your foe down for a second or 2 seconds, however long, it's just awesome. It does have a bit of a cooldown, the Gale Force one does. It's 50 seconds, I think. Magnetic Wave. This is Earth. Magnetic Wave. Damage foes, remove conditions, and reflect projectiles with a magnetic surge. Kind of a fun one to use in PvP, I would say. And Obsidian Flesh. Envelope yourself in a stony armor, making yourself invulnerable. Now that's a nice one. That too has a very long cooldown, 50 seconds. That wraps it up for our close-in weapon set. Our Scepter and our Focus. Let's move on to our medium range, which will be our daggers. Here we go. So, dagger in our main hand. For fire, we get Dragon's Claw. Fling fire in a claw-shaped spread at your foe. Fire number 2, Drake's Breath. Spray a cone of fire at the foe while on the move. That's kind of cool. There was a similar effect in WoW. Burning Speed. Sprint ahead, leaving a line of fire that burns. This is awesome. You are Speedy Gonzales. Arriba, arriba. Pew! Moving on to Water for dagger main hand. Vapor Blade. Cast a Vapor Blade that inflicts a vulnerability and returns back to you. Kind of like a boomerang. Cone of Cold. Spray an icy blast in a cone that damages foe and heals allies. Frozen Burst. Detonate a burst of ice that chills nearby foes. Main hand dagger Air. Lightning Whip. Lash your foe with lightning. That one's pretty cool. Lightning Touch. Shock your foe and make them vulnerable. Shocking Aura. Envelop yourself with electrical energy that stuns nearby foes if they attack you. Finally, Earth. Impale. Spear your foes on a giant stone spike. Ring of Earth. Bleed your foes with a ring of rocky spikes. And Magnetic Grasp. Pull yourself to your foe with a magnetic force. That one's pretty cool. Okay, that is dagger main hand. Let's move on to dagger off. We start off with Fire. Ring of Fire. Hey, Johnny Cash. Damage nearby foes with a ring of fire, burning all enemies that pass through it. That's pretty neat. Flame Touch. Damage foes in a cone in front of you, dealing more damage to burning foes. So once they're on fire, yes, set them on fire again. Water. Frost Aura. Protect yourself with frost armor. While active, it chills foes that hit you. That's neat. Cleansing Wave. Heal yourself and nearby allies, removing a condition. I wonder how effective that is as a heal. Didn't get that far in the game. We'll try that for next beta. Ride the lightning. Ride the lightning to your foe, then strike all enemies nearby with an electrical burst. Sounds fun. I gotta check that one out. Updraft. You gain swiftness from a gust of wind that launches nearby foes. Earth. Earthquake. Trigger a quake at your location, knocking down foes and dealing massive damage. Churning Earth. Hold and release, making nearby Earth churn, crippling nearby foes before unleashing seismic wave that damages and bleeds them. Wow, that's pretty freaking awesome. I think that might be what happens when you die. Like the churning Earth looks like hands come up and grab down. Alright, so that wraps it up for our daggers in main hand, dagger offhand. That was our medium range. Now we're going to move on to our staff, which is our long range nuking stick. Okay, fire for staff. You will get fireball. Cast a fireball that explodes on impact and hits multiple foes. Lava font. Make a lava erupt from the target area. Flame burst. Burn all foes at the target location. Cool, so it's an AoE. Burning retreat. Quickly roll backwards, leaving a trail of fire behind you that burns. Meteor shower. Call down a meteor shower on the target area. Let's move on to water. Water blast. Spray a jet of water at the foe that also heals allies in the blast radius. Now, I tried this one, and the healing was pathetic. I mean, it might have healed a little bit, but it won't self-heal, and it doesn't do much. It's 3 or 4 points per shot, and because this is your auto cast, it's really low refresh time, but the heal is very minimal. Icy spike. Drops a giant ice spike on foes, causing vulnerability. Geyser. Summon a geyser to heal nearby allies. Frozen ground. Coat the target area in ice, chilling foes that enter it. Healing rain. Call down healing rain on target area, granting regeneration to allies, and also removes condition. Now, this is the first time that I've come across a weapon or a profession in this game that has specific healing. So it looks like water with staff would be a decent healing attunement to have. I don't know for sure. I haven't tried that yet, so when we get to the next beta I will focus on this specifically to make sure that I can see if this is really good for healing. Okay, moving on to air. Chain lightning. Hit multiple foes with arcs of chain lightning. You know what that is, right? You did it in WoW when you're shaman. Lightning surge. Charge a lightning surge that blinds foes near your target when it discharges. Gust. Blast foes backwards with a burst of air. Windborne speed. You and nearby allies gain swiftness while removing crippling and immobilize and chill effects. Static field. Create an electric field that stuns foes crossing it. It's probably like your fire barrier. Earth. Stoning. Hurl a rock at your foe, causing weakness. Eruption. Shake the ground until it erupts and damages foes. Magnetic aura. Reflect projectiles with magnetic energy. Unsteady ground. Create unsteady ground that cripples foes that move through it. Shockwave. Create a shockwave that bleeds and immobilizes your target. So I'm pretty excited to see how this all plays out. It looks like the staff being long range will have some pretty impressive spells. Okay, that about wraps it up for our above the water weapons. Tomorrow we will cover the underwater weapons, the Trident, and we will cover some of the other utility type spells and skills, and finally we will wrap up my impressions of the Elementalist for the beta. All of that and more coming up tomorrow on the Geekasaurus.